All right, hi again. This is Reverend Sean over at the Centered Path, and come walk with me on the path. And we're going to go through part two of the Eightfold Path, which is going to be right intention or right thought, and we're going to explore a little bit of the three main sections of the Eightfold Path: the Prajna, the Sila, and the Samadhi. So, keep watching. Hey guys, this is Reverend Sean, and let's go over part two and part one, whatever. This is all, it gets very confusing, so just stick with me. This is part two of the Eightfold Path. We've done the Four Noble Truths. We're getting into the Eightfold Path. Last time we did Prajna, or wisdom section, which is the first one of the three sections of the Eightfold Path. And the first two parts are right view or belief and right intention or thought. And that's what we're going to do today. So right thought or right intention. Now, intention is one of the most important things we have when we're working with ourselves. What is our intention when we're eating? What is our intention when we're sleeping? What is our intention? Of course, it's well because I'm tired, but sometimes we sleep because we're avoiding things. Sometimes we eat because we're avoiding things. Whereas in the Zen or Chan traditions, we're trying to make sure that our intentions are good. We're eating because we need to have food, but we're not eating too much. We're eating because we're trying to conserve. We're trying to energize our body so that we can do better work. And as we get into the Bodhisattva vows and the blessings for food and stuff like that later, but today we're going over this. So, intention or thought, and we want to look at one main concept when we're meditating on this. And these are each meditations, really, if you start thinking about it. Am I truly living compassionately and wisely? Or is this process I'm going through, am I approaching it compassionately? Am I approaching it wisely? Because remember, those two things have to be balanced out, because if we're too, I don't want to say wise, but we're overthinking things, and we're over intellectualizing, and we're over philosophizing these things, and spiritualizing these things, then we can lose that compassion and caring for it. We're too much into the numbers, we're too much into the process, we're too much into the pomp and circumstance of this issue that we're going through or whatever, and we're too much into it. And we need to let that go and have some compassion for ourselves, give us a chance to rest and have compassion for others. That's that balancing, right? That's the right thought, is the balancing of these two things. Are we offering thoughts of love and nonviolence towards beings with that selfless detachment? Or are we doing it because we want bunnies to be happy, but we don't care about foxes, for example? So a few weeks ago, I was getting into my car, and I heard a thud. And I was like, that was weird. I looked around, and I saw little bits of fur flying through the air, and I saw a giant hawk take off from the tree right above me. And I looked at the side of the car, and there was a poor squirrel who had been partially eaten and dropped by that hawk that I disturbed. And at first I was very angry, that stupid hawk, terrible how he killed this poor defenseless little squirrel. But that is the process of life. That is actually the cycle of nature. And this is something that we have to also understand and get into. And if it wasn't for that hawk being able to catch this squirrel, and the squirrel's, dying for this, that is part of what we call their karma, their actions, their need to exist is based on the actions of being the hunter and the hunted. Now, this poor hawk, for example, that hawk is in the animal realm, of course, and the conditions that they live in are less auspicious than mine. Now, I can choose not to have meat, I can choose not to kill for my food, but the hawk has to do that. The hawk has to live in a violent life to get its meal. Okay, what's violent for him, what's complete chaos for the squirrel is complete normalcy for the hawk. That's what we have to remember, and that's how we start to balance that. Now, also, we have to be like, well, the squirrel also is part of that. The squirrel is out trying to get its food, and it's stealing nuts from trees or whatever, your trees, for example. We can't be angry at that, because the squirrel is just being a squirrel. The hawk is just being a hawk, and we can't pass that judgment on others because we don't know the full, as things develop, how far they go out and what they mean to us, or to the world itself. This is just a process of existence. we're trying to like develop this unconditional wisdom, unconditional compassion, making spiritual growth, and having. We're trying to make spiritual growth, and having or making a good life. That's our purpose. So that's our right intention or right thought, based on the practice of Buddhism. So we're practicing through the Noble Eightfold Path. Remember, there's the three main parts, which is the prajna, which is wisdom, which we just went over. We went over belief and view, and we've gone over now intention and thought. The second part is going to be morality, which is going to use prajna or wisdom and apply it for these kind of things, or virtue. And then the third part is, once we do that, we want to get into concentration, and how do we contemplate and concentrate on those things to better develop them within us as people, so that we can use them in our daily life. Moving on with that, the next ones we're going to go over with the Eightfold Path, which we have. Hopefully you've been able to get on the website, which is the centeredpath.org, and download the cheat sheet, which is here. And then also each one of these has their own little, like a write-up, where I go over most of this stuff on them. Now this one here, the Noble Eightfold Path, which is basically a checklist to reduce suffering, that one has three main parts, and of those three main parts, the first two, which is prajna, has two pieces, which is belief or view and intention, and then sila or morality has, moral, like how is speech, how is right action, right speech, and right livelihood. We'll talk about those. Samadhi or concentration has to do with what's your efforts and what's your mindfulness and what's your concentration. So we'll go over those in detail, just like we're doing this one here. This has been about just about 6-7 minutes of this, and I'm trying to keep them under 10 minutes. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to go and do your meditations. When you're doing your meditations on the Eightfold Path, you can set your intention for each of the meditations. It's a very good thing to do, very good practice. And pick 5 minutes only of just sitting, and get a timer and do 3 to 5 minutes of becoming completely still, so that everything in your mind from previous and from the future and that stuff can kind of settle. The more we practice this, the better we get. The second part is your 15 or 20 minute session to try and do that. This is what we usually do in our groups, is to sit and pick, for instance, this one is picking right intention or thought. So what is my intention? Am I living? Am I doing this compassionately and wisely? Am I balanced about it? You can pick them separately at a time. Am I doing compassion? Now, you can write notes when you do meditation. There's nothing wrong with that. We have paper. We have pens and tablets and computers. You can totally, if you take notes, you'll be able to come back to that and develop it even further within yourself. So this is something that we want to do. What we're trying to, with the practice of Buddhism, is develop our minds, develop our bodies, and develop our speech, or protect our minds, body, and speech through the practices of the Buddhist teachings. So whether you're making it a spiritual practice, this is applying. When you're making a philosophical practice, this is applying. Whether you're making it a religious practice, we're still able to apply this. So this is Reverend Sean over at the Centered Path, and thanks for walking with me. And I hope you guys are doing well, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one, which is going to be Sila, or morality. Take care.